Hello, everyone. This is Kama, and it's been so long since we did a live on this channel. So I really want to get back into the groove of this nightly program, this nightly discussion at this ungodly hour. I have some time now. Well, it's summer, and I have a little more time. So I'm going to, especially for this month of August, I'm going to really try to put in some time for this at this ungodly hour session. Um, Hopefully, I can even do two per night. That's what I'm aiming for, to have two discussion sessions at this ungodly hour, starting about 8 o'clock in the night, 9 o'clock thereabouts, once I have some time, right? So we have a lot of topics. We have a lot of topics that we need to discuss. And the thing about it is, you see, once we keep discussing these pertinent and important topics, getting them off our chest, and if we are honest, if we are forthcoming, then I believe we can only benefit from it, right? So keep going over these topics, keep discussing them, keep expressing our views to our partners, to our children, to our family members, to ourselves. Communication is key, and we have to learn to communicate. Yes, some of us have the power, we believe, to read minds, but we don't want to have to read minds. We want adults to communicate. This is an adult program. Of course, we want children to learn to communicate too, and that's where it starts, right? But our focus is on adults in relationships, and we need to learn how to communicate with each other, how to let each other know what is what from the beginning. If we're entering into a relationship, we need to tell our partner or our potential partners what is what are my boundaries, what are my views, where do I draw the line, what am I willing to do, what am I open to, what am I close to. Let us not assume, right? Let us not think that people are going to read our minds, but let us be clear about our intention, our expectations. All right. So tonight our topic is marriage, right? And even though the topic says I will never get married, that is not my personal opinion, right? That topic reflects the opinions of many persons nowadays, particularly the younger generation. Persons who are now in their early 20s, maybe even late 20s, early 30s. But I've spoken to several of these persons in this age group, and a lot of them have come to the conclusion that they are not going to get married, they're not going to have kids. Their priority is them, and they want to just focus on them. Many persons from my generation our older generation might see this as, it's a very selfish way to look at life. How could you not want to do what nature intended, especially as a woman? How could you not want to produce a child? How could you not want to form a bond with another human being and make that vow, that lifetime vow to each other? Why would you not want to do that? And we would ask this question because we have, when we were coming up, we were fed this idea that this is the way to go. This is the preferred way. This is the ultimate way. That's the ultimate goal. Particularly as a woman, we were taught that the ultimate goal was to secure a man who found us worthy of wearing his ring. We were told that we should strive to become this wifey material, wife material. And what is wife material? Well, as far as was fed to us, wife material meant that you were able to cook, clean, wash, take care of children. First of all, produce children, be fertile, to be able to bring children into the world, care for them, care for your husband, look after him, be his helpmate. That was fed to us as wife material. If you were not able to cook properly, if you were not able to iron his clothes, if you were not able to wash properly so you could hang the clothes, and your neighbors wouldn't laugh at you that the clothes were not clean enough. If you weren't able to do those things, then you weren't considered to be wife material. So in the villages, in our Caribbean villages, and I assume elsewhere in the world, this is what young girls were taught. This is how we were groomed to aspire to be someone's wife. And if you got to a certain age and no one had asked you to marry him, no one had seen you fit to be his wife, then you were looked down on and you were considered an old thing to be shunned and discarded, right? I remember the saying was, your age are come off a calendar now. Your age coming off the calendar. So from you reach 30, 31, no month has more than 31 days. So if your age coming off the calendar, that meant your clock was ticking, time was running out for you, and you felt, or you were made to feel, less than those young ladies who had secured the ring from they were of age. In the Caribbean community, that would be 18 years old and up, right? Also, we were exposed to the Disney fairy tales of, you as a woman, as a young woman, were the damsel in distress waiting to be rescued by your handsome prince, your knight in shining armor. And this is the man who would pretty much come and give you your purpose. So it was as if you had no purpose until you were married and you could establish your home, and the man, of course, as the head of that home, and you as his sidekick, right? Although it turned out that if you really examine the marriages, the woman is the one who really bore the brunt of things. Even though she was the weaker vessel, she was the one who was carrying the strength. She was the one who had to do most of the manual labor as the weaker vessel. Um, so it came to a point where the younger generation now, the young ladies um, in their late teens, early 20s are looking now and saying, you know what? I remember what it was like growing up, even if my mom and dad were married, or even if they lived as a common law union. I'm thinking back at my mom, I'm thinking back at my grandma, and these women, even though they could brag about being married for 10, 20, 30, 50 years, those were not really happy years. I know from my personal experience, looking back at my grandma and other women of her generation, living in a household, yes, they were married, but a lot of them, they were abused by their husbands. They were treated as less than. They were beaten. They were neglected. Their needs were not met. Their sexual needs were not met. These men used to be running around with women in the community, having children outside of the marriage, throwing this in her face, the constant arguing, the constant fighting, the disrespect. These are the things that unfortunately, as a child, I witnessed in my community with many women. And to me, there was no prestige in marriage. Most of what I could see was the hypocrisy, was the pushing things under the carpet, was the wife um, kind of shielding her husband's reputation, even though everybody pretty much knew what he was up to, but she still wanted to preserve that reputation and to pretend that they were in a union that was exemplary, which she knew it was not. And this unfortunately was the most of the cases that I saw. Most married women, in my opinion, were not happy women. And I did not see it as something that I wanted for myself. Now, me personally, at this point, I've never been married. I'm not opposed to marriage. Let me put that out there. I think it's a wonderful thing if two persons can truly love each other and to make that commitment, and they are both sincere and they are both serious about that commitment. I believe that to be the best way to go. It would be the best way for children to thrive in that household. The thing though is, when I observe most people in my community, in my country, in the world, I just don't believe that most people have that integrity. I don't believe most people have that discipline. I don't believe most people have that selflessness that is required to make marriage work, right? So, as I said, the ideal household is one that has two persons who are married officially, who have made that vow, whatever the vow is, in front of persons who are important to them, and they are committed and they are serious about the commitment. That is the best environment for children to thrive. That's the best environment for the adults to thrive, right? But just from observation, I honestly don't think that most adults today have that kind of commitment, discipline, and selflessness, right? I would totally marry. I know me personally, I have what it takes. I believe I have what it takes to make marriage work. The in terms of discipline, self-discipline, and definitely I would not form a union with someone who I don't love, who I can't be committed to, right? So personally, I believe in marriage, but just looking around me, like, I don't think most people have what it takes. Just being honest, right? Especially in this climate where, when I say climate, I mean in our community today, the modern community today, where we have access to so much variety, you're able to, there's social media, you can meet all kinds of people all over the world. There's so much variety, and to me, that it, of course, it has positives and it has negatives, right? So the negative is that you're inclined to think that, all right, there's so much variety, there's so much for me to choose from. I don't have to limit myself. I don't have to tie myself down with this one person. I don't have to spend the time to get to know this person and to compromise on certain things so that our relationship can thrive. So it's like the least little thing or the first thing that happens, you're not willing to, as I say, you're not willing to compromise, you're not willing to give it your all, because at the back of your head, you know that there's so much more you can choose from. But the thing is, yes, you have a lot of choice, but is it good choice, right? And a lot of times I've seen people let go of some really good people they had in their life because there's a saying, you grasp all and you lose all, right? Or you have the diamond, and because you see so much coal, you grasp the coal and you lose the diamond. I have seen that happen, and that's something that is likely to happen when you feel like your choice is unlimited, your options are unlimited, and social media provides us with this unlimited option, all these beautiful people, because there are so many ways to make yourself look absolutely breathtaking, when in reality that might not be what you look like, or you might present yourself in terms of your character as being a particular thing, and that's not really what you are like. And we end up shortchanging ourselves a lot because of these options that we have. Another thing is, back in the day, right, back in the day, centuries ago, when we thought of marriage, remember the life expectancy in those days was much, much shorter than it is now. So let's say persons lived to 30, 40, even 50 years old, got married at, let's say, 15. All right. So you have 35 years. That was life, right? 25, 35 years together. All right. Even that is a stretch, but doable. Now, if you were to get married at 20 now, or even 30 now, with the life expectancy being as it is, if you're thinking of being committed for life to this person, you're thinking of easily 50, 60, 70 years with this one person, options that are available to us, right? That social media presents, that a shrinking globe and access to people all over the world presents. Can the average person stay faithful and loyal to one person for 5 decades, 6 decades, and remain committed? That is the question. Is marriage now an unrealistic thing? And the trend that we're seeing with so many divorces, is it just showing us that marriage in the modern day is unrealistic? Is that what it is telling us? That we as humans don't have what it really takes to be committed and to be happy and to be faithful for decades. Animals, you have animals who bond for life, but their life is nowhere near the span human life has, particularly now in the modern day. You have birds who bond for life, you have even some mammals who bond for life. Um, Although you could say, well, relatively speaking, their lifespan is 10 years. So if they bond for that, it is still a good time for them. But I mean, for us as humans, given the fact that we love novelty, humans love novelty, humans love variety, we thrive on novelty and variety. Is it unrealistic for us to expect that we will be with one partner for 40, 50, 60 years? Persons live up to 100 and something, right? You get married at 20 or 30, you're talking about 70 years together. Is it realistic? Or do you really want to lock yourself down with one individual when there is so much scope? Um, why not this? I'm just throwing this out, right, for argument's sake. Why not think of it as, um, you be with this person, you grow with the person, you commit to the person for the period that you still have that bond, and then you have a healthy attitude towards the bond and towards the fact that the bond can break, and there's nothing wrong with the bond breaking. How about that? That's one way of thinking about it, right? So if you want to think about it as an official marriage, then you could be officially married 2, 3, 4, 5 times in your life and not think of it as a negative thing, right? Or you could just do away with the official bond altogether, and just in your mind there is that commitment, there is that respect, there is that loyalty for the period that the relationship lasts, and you don't think negatively about the fact that it ended or the fact that children were produced and you still went your separate ways, and you can still have a healthy relationship, healthy co-parenting relationship with your partner as you raise your children. Maybe that is a more practical way to go, right, about it, as opposed to this feeling that you have to make a legal commitment, and your finances are intertwined, and all of these, your possessions are intertwined. This is just a way of looking at. We have to be open-minded, and we have to be willing to adapt and to change based on how we evolve as a species, right? We have to be willing to adapt to life as it goes, and see what is best for us as individuals and as a species, what is best for us. I know I've heard many men on podcasts and so on rethinking this whole notion of marriage because for them, the experience has been, you know, lopsided. They feel like they lose, at least financially, when the marriage can't thrive and divorce occurs. A lot of these men feel like they are the losers because here you are having to split all your assets with this woman. She usually gets the kids, half of all that you earn, and so on. But at the same time, a lot of things have to be taken into consideration because for the women in the marriages, they are often taken for granted and the part that they play. Sometimes men feel like the fact that the woman is at home caring for the house, caring for the kids, the men don't feel like that is anything compared to what he does going out to work, when in fact it is just as important, right? So many persons are rethinking this whole thing of marriage, and men and women are opting not to go that route. And like I said, particularly the new generation of men and women, they are feeling that, you know what, let me just take care of me. Let me just, because they're finding it difficult to even pay the bills for themselves, to find food for themselves. So they are thinking, okay, I don't need to add another mouth to feed. I don't need to add another human being to this world, which to them is not a nice place to bring another soul into, right? And how could you argue with someone who holds those views, right? Um, why why would I bring another person to this world where there's so much violence, there's so much hate, there's so much doom? This is the thought, because I talk to young people and this is the general thought that a lot of them have. They also, like I said, are comparing what they saw their grandparents and parents, particularly the females, go through, and they don't want that for themselves, right? They don't want to be restricted. They don't want to feel like they have to submit to a man. They want to have their education. They want to go out into the world and explore. They want to have their degrees. They want to have to be earning their own money without having to answer to their partner. And they don't feel like they need to have, a lot of them don't feel like they need to have this paper to say, they okay, the government approves of this union. They really don't feel like they need that, right? So it's a new idea, but like I said, we evolve as a species and we have to be open minded. Has marriage lost its appeal? Has it lost its relevance? Right? You have a lot of persons who marry for gain, marriage of convenience, right? And in order to do this, there's a lot of deception, there's a lot of using other people, whether it's to get status, to get green card, to get their permanent stay in a place, and they end up having to deceive the person. And we all could agree that's not nice. That's not a good way to be. right? So for me, I would say, um, if you have someone who you firmly believe this person has the maturity, this person has the honesty, the commitment, then marriage, in that case, both of you having those things, marriage would be a beautiful thing. Yeah, marriage would be a beautiful thing. And you don't have to tell yourself that it has to last forever. It could last 5 years, it could last 10 years, it could last 20 years, it could last 40 years, right? Once during that time you are committed, you are honest, you're open, and you're willing to compromise and you're willing to grow and give your partner your all for that time. It don't matter how much in life, it's 1 year, right? That for me is a beautiful thing. But don't be, as I always say, my golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Don't deceive, don't hold back information from someone that you know could change their opinion on things, could change their decision. If you know that a particular piece of information might change a person's decision on something involving you, don't hold back that information. That is deception. And you would not want someone to treat you in that way, right? So we have these little basic um, things, these fundamental things that will keep us, keep our integrity as humans dealing with other humans, right? Keep your integrity. What you want for you, you do to others. What you don't want for you, you don't do to others. So, yeah, marriage as a concept is a beautiful concept. It's a beautiful concept. However, from my observation, and I'm just being realistic. I study people a lot. I look at when I'm on the road, in a public transportation, talking to my students, talking to my neighbors. I observe and I listen. And I see how lax people can be about integrity, about commitment, about honesty. And these are the fundamental things that are required for marriage to work. You have to be honest. You have to be open. Some people don't even want they have a partner and the partner can't even see their phone. The partner can't even hear a conversation that they're having because there is so much deception. There is so much that they're hiding from that partner, right? In a case like that, the marriage will definitely not last. Or if it lasts, it will not be happy. Because for me, it don't make no sense to say, well, I've been married for 20 years. I've been married for 30 years, and you're proudly announcing that, but yet you have not been happy. You have not been thriving. You have not been growing as a person. That to me don't make sense, right? That does not make sense. So that's my take on it. Tomorrow night we'll have another discussion. I want to really keep this up because this is a series that I think is important for us to talk about these issues and for us to be honest with ourselves and with each other about these issues. So, tomorrow, hopefully, we can do 2 videos tomorrow night. And as usual, the topics will be interesting and pertinent. So until tomorrow, this is Calm at this ungodly hour. So look out for the notification tomorrow so you can join me, and feel free if you want to join in the discussion, post in the chat, post in the comments. Feel free to do so. I welcome your input. It would not make sense for me to just be here talking, right? Your response is what makes it all make sense.